Knowing I speak every word in my second language. The first I found too romantic to articulate colonial damage. Mais, c'est la vie. I speak truth with kin tombs and forced dichotomy in the hopes Leopold's chocolate and dead double Dutch can set us free. Mais, c'est la vie. I dream in broken Swahili. My skin says Jambo and my assimilation pretends it's never heard the word. I'll search for the meaning no colonizer could ever blur. Bonjour, hello, Jambo. My name is Lubendo. I was born in Montreal, my mother is Rwandan, my father is Congolese, and combined they survived 2 civil wars and a genocide. Today, my brothers and I are the fruits of their survival. I begin with this to set the tone. Diversity as we know it today is not made in a vacuum. Diversity in industrialized nations is too often a direct consequence of colonial institutions which have historically exploited, displaced, and massacred people of color. For example, without the colonization of Africa and the subsequent bloodshed it caused, I would not be on this stage speaking to you in this tongue about what white men call diversity. Despite this, political discourses regarding reconciliation often focus on symbolism and representation rather than addressing the inequalities caused by the colonial period in the first place. Welcome to Neocolonialism. Now, before telling you a story about myself, I'm going to give you context using this little guy. Who here has a smartphone? Raise your hand. Cool. Keep your hand raised if you know what tantalum or coltan is. All right, less hands. You notice that? All right. For those of you who don't know, coltan is a conflict mineral used in all commercial technologies, from phones to tablets to laptops. Without the mining of coltan, technology as we know it today would not exist. 80% of the world's coltan is in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a state defined by the hardships of its colonial past. Now I'm gonna spare you a history lesson because it's the middle semester and I had papers due last week, but I must note that as academics, thinkers, and dreamers of the tech age, it is our responsibility to be aware of the bloodstains that accompany our technological advancements. To be blunt, international corporations and consumer demand for phones, tablets, computers, and the like are implicated in the most lethal conflict the world has seen since World War II. Since the beginning of the Congolese civil wars, more than 5 million people have died. At its height, war in the Democratic Republic of Congo killed 73,000 people every month. Violence aggravated by the coltan industry is ongoing in Congo to this day. That same violence is the reason why my parents, along with my brothers, fled their home. That same violence is why I was born a Canadian. Diversity is not made in a vacuum. Using myself as an example, diversity is a direct result of globalized exploitation. Unfortunately, this is why I hate diversity talks and symbolic conversations about representation or inclusion. They fail to address the deaths that are forced onto us. They fail to acknowledge that I am a real person. Now, moving on, sorry. I must make sure that you are aware that the trends that we look at, considering the resource exploitation of coltan in Congo, are directly related to a history started by King Leopold II in 1885. King Leopold II was an old monarch of Belgium. In 1885, from 1885 to 1908, King Leopold II exploited rubber from the Congo, enslaved all of its peoples, killed upwards of 8 million people to drive the global bicycle industry. Today, the same thing is happening with coltan in our phones. Things have not changed, the means have. Now, I've struggled with how to articulate the gravity of this for quite some time. My parents don't usually stand in front of rooms of white people and tell them that their buying habits are killing people that look like them. But things are serious, so you will be made aware. As a student in private school living in government housing, I was taught of the differences, the cost of my differences. My teachers made me aware that being loud and black would warrant a punishment. My peers taught me to laugh at the racialization of my humanity. My uniform taught me to conform. Being one of only black students in high school taught me that diversity depended on the subordination and policing of my identity. Growing up in government housing taught me very much the same thing. I often go to sleep to the sound of police sirens. I learned that gentrification is more than an academic study, and I learned to lie about the size of the two-bedroom apartment that I call home. As a student at Allison University, I learned to assimilate into Western thought and pretend John Locke has any good ideas. He doesn't. He doesn't. I learned of the invisibility of the black academic. I learned that my eloquence comes as a surprise. Why is that? It's a question we don't ask nearly enough. Why is it that an eloquent black man is confusing or a question mark? You probably know. You've seen it. You are racial inequality in a lot of ways. Moving on. A few months before I went off to university, my brother pulled me to the side and told me something that I'll never forget. He pointed to the projects we live in and said, Noah, if we dare to be average, we'll be stuck here forever. He didn't say if we give up. He didn't say if we mess up. He didn't say if we fail. He said if we are average. There's a cruel reality behind his words. Average does not help you succeed in a world designed without your humanity in mind. Average does not get you out of the projects. Average does not make a home out of a penitentiary. Average does not bring a black boy who sleeps to sirens to university. Neocolonialism has effectively made class mobility a fever dream. One that we chase nevertheless because our parents did not survive all they did so that their children could wonder where their next meals come from. Now, you all have a responsibility. It is our consumer demands that displace millions around the world, be it through oil, coltan, cobalt, or whatever you want to name. We are displacing millions, and when they come here, we do not give them the resources to succeed or to realize their passions or their views on equality or diversity. What I mean by this is that diversity in Canada is an appendage of the very same notions that justify racially driven economic disparity and the disenfranchisement of Indigenous people from coast to coast. Diversity in Canada is predicated on whiteness and the violence it imposes on non-white peoples. What is diversity? To ideologies with cultural preferences. What is ideology? In a province that enshrines religious discrimination in law. What is diversity in a country with both metropolises like Toronto and reserves? We are not addressing inclusion. We are talking about symbols. I am not a symbol. My skin is not a symbol. I will close the same way I began, with a poem. I found resilience walking to elementary school wearing fake Timberlands, athletic shorts without pockets, and a shirt with exactly 4 holes in it. One by my left armpit, another which I cut where a seagull gave me some good luck, the next to the bottom right sleeve, and the last helped the sun greet my heart in the morning. I found resilience in the shades of brown the star gifted my ancestors, the rhythms I could bop to, and the mountains singing to sandcastles taught my voice to carry. I found resilience in the ghosts of familiar strangers. Mama made us watch Hotel Rwanda like Don Cheadle told her story and she'd be in the next scene. I remember the look on her face. Mine was full of surprise. Hers told me she recognized the smell of blood. Back then, refugee was just a name for something. Genocide was a fancy word. Machetes looked kind of cool, but I knew what hurt looked like. It looked like gasping for your happiness. It looked like a mother surrounded by three of her four sons stranded on an island the size of colonialism. It still does. I found resilience drenched in the sacrifices of others. My DNA is compiled of victims I will never meet. I am a walking war memorial. A black sheep tribulation forgot to slay on the altar. My skin screams we were here. My bones hold all I own, and I love all of me. How could I hate all that the unheard dead have blessed me with? Inclusion can save lives. Apathy will surely kill. Thank you.